say the best title I've heard in months. A native Californian, she spent her early childhood in Los Angeles, moving to Hawaii, where she spent her teen years. An early interest in writing and advanced reading skills led to her becoming a staff writer for one of the nation's only daily newspapers, high school newspapers. By the time she moved to San Francisco at mere 19, she had 2 self-published books of poetry, was a frequently published poet in local community newspapers, and was reading poetry all over the place. And tonight we're happy to have her reading here at the Laurel Bookstore. Sumiko Saulson.
Hello. Okay, there's water. Okay, so, now that I've taken my seat, hopefully this guy up here that's making all this noise won't bother you guys too much. But luckily, I'm pretty loud. So, Solitude is the book I'm going to be reading tonight, and that's pretty much mostly described as sci-fi/horror because there's a bit of science fiction mixed in the plot here. So I'm going to try reading the back of it so you'll know what it's about. Solitude. To what extent does the presence of others affect our thoughts and actions? What do we believe when we are truly alone? Solitude is the riveting tale of diverse individuals isolated in a San Francisco seemingly void of all other human life. In the absence of others, each journeys into personal webs of belief and perception as they try to determine what happened to them and to the world around them. Each of them views events differently. One suspects aliens have invaded, another believes it's a sign of revelation in end times. Some don't know what to think. Okay, that's a noise up there. Others find their minds unraveling as they struggle to cope with unimaginable events. Soon, threats both natural and supernatural leave them too busy fighting to survive in a world full of strange and unpredictable events where all of the luxuries of civilization are being slowly eroded to even stop and wonder. And unless they can find each other, they will each have to face it alone in the dark. So, the first bit I'm going to read here is from the beginning of this event that they're all experiencing. By the way, this takes place entirely in San Francisco, and this is about a guy named Shane. A pudgy kid with a stylish haircut and asymmetrical variation on the Prince Valiant, jet black, heavily overlaid with strands of purple. He was wearing black jeans and a Cannibal Corpse t-shirt. Not in bad shape for a fat kid. He could skate for one thing. Shane wasn't a loser, just a lot less of a chick magnet than Todd. Now at 20, Todd was already living off of women. He was kind of a sponge, though he told everyone he was a pimp. Todd's big sister, Zal, went by the nickname Sunny, and being 12 years older than Shane, was once his babysitter. She used to take the boys to Chuck E. Cheese when they were so little Todd still needed a booster and Shane had to ride in the car seat. Little Shane's first big crush in life, pretty Sunny, now married with kids of her own. It was ironic that Shane now babysat the twin daughters of his former babysitter. Often, when he came by, Sunny asked him why he still kept company with their scandalous baby brother. The last time he was over, Todd called up for a ride, so Sunny turned up the sound on her stereo real loud to make sure he could hear that old TLC song, Scrubs. "Hey, listen, Todd," she shouted, "they're playing your song." Shane started to laugh. He thought it was not so funny. Then he thought it was not so funny, because girls always gave Todd some love even when he was acting like a buster hanging out the side of his best friend's ride. Shane hated that. His own experiences with girls had been very limited. There had been a few drunken make-out sessions with girls who afterwards were determined to deny in public that anything ever happened. 5'9" and close to 200 pounds, Shane was loath to take his shirt off, even to go swimming. He was way too self-conscious to be naked in front of a girl, even a dumpy-looking one, should the opportunity ever have arisen. It had not. Now, at 17, he was still a virgin, generally outgoing but shy around girls. Todd attracted many girls, but he was more interested in women, grown women with jobs and cars who could take him places he never could afford on his own. Between girlfriends, he'd go back to scrounging around the club scene with his fake IDs, hitting his old friend up for rides. He looked good, clean-cut, presentable, like anything but the broke-ass, jobless bum he was. Shane looked like the one without a job. He was driving in a car older than he was, an '88 Thunderbird from the police auto auction that sucked up so much gas, the rumpled bills Todd, quote-unquote, donated for gas and bridge toll really meant something. Shane worked driving a big white delivery van for his parents' catering service, but they didn't pay very well, and all this reminiscing means nothing now. He was in the tunnel, halfway through the Bay Bridge when it happened. Cars in front of him began to swerve out of their lanes and slowly come to a halt. Suddenly, he was glad he drove slowly. It may have saved his life. Why? For one thing, he was already in the right-hand lane. For another, he'd given the 18-wheeler in front of him a wide berth. The truck, unable to slow down in time, drove straight off the side of the bridge, severing the cables as it flung itself straight down into the bay, taking several vehicles along with it. Shane fully expected to get rear-ended, but when he looked into the rearview window, he saw the cars were already still, frozen really, except for one, 2 lanes over. Where